Dr. Ayaz is a renowned international human rights activist and has been involved with numerous organizations as well as receiving multiple awards for his support and attention towards various issues around the world. He is also a member of the Ahmadiyya. Being involved with conflict resolution has allowed Dr. Ayaz to travel to many conflict areas such as Jerusalem, Palestine, and Kashmir and highlight their needs to the world. He shares his experience and views regarding issues that he has encountered.
I don't know if you know anything about Qadian, just a small village with no transport, no communication, nothing, you know. People had to walk 12 miles to get to Qadian, you know, dirt roads and all this, you know. Now from that little village, today 125 years later, you know, his message is of course the message of Islam, but his community has spread to over 202 countries at the moment of the world, you know, with the millions of followers, you know. And generally, without prejudice, you know, if you look at the qualities of Ahmadis, they are definitely much better, you know, in practice. In London, you know, sometimes I talk to people and we talk just like that, you know, about Ahmadis and all that. And I tell them, in all other communities, there will be drug addicts, there will be people who have committed crimes, there will be people who have done this, who have done that. But amongst Ahmadis, it will be difficult to find, you know, a person who has been put in jail because of some criminal activity. I don't say that Ahmadis are 100%, you know, pure and all this. They also have their shortcomings and faults. But in general, the level of morality, you know, and the level of dedication and devotion to the cause of Islam that Ahmadiyyat has infused, you know, in the souls and hearts of people is definitely admirable. And that is why, you know, I do appreciate and like this community. And much more, today Ahmadis have one spiritual leader. You see, we call him the Khalifa. This is the revival of the early Khilafat, you see. And he sits at the moment in London because of the problems in Pakistan. He was in Pakistan, of course. But then he controls 202 countries. And people are so devoted, whether they are Malaysian, whether they are Africans, whether they are South Pacific Island people, you know. Everybody is so obedient, devoted and dedicated to him that his voice, you know, is the voice for everyone. No discrimination of language, race. This is really the pivot of the unity of Islam. They are all there now to work for the community, and the spirit of sacrifice is so high, you know. Every member, without asking, contributes every month, you know, part of their income, their salary, and then they're doing humanitarian work. We have this Humanity First, which is working, you know, to appease the suffering and the problems of those who are afflicted by worldly natural catastrophes or some other catastrophes. We are providing, you know, water holes, electricity, schools, hospitals in Africa, and this is done without any discrimination. It is not for Ahmadis, it is for humanity. Whoever comes gets the service, you see. So those are some of the beautiful things, and this is why I think Ahmadis are I would say opposed or hated, you know, because they are trying to destroy the divisions, you know, amongst Muslims.
What have you seen in terms of prejudice towards the Ahmadiyya Muslims?
I've lived and I've been, you know, in areas and places where there was serious and severe persecution. When I was a child, I was in Tanzania, you see, and I used to go out with my father, and there was opposition there. There were people who would have their PA systems, you know, and try to abuse and swear at Ahmadis and do all sorts of things. And I know once I was walking with my father on the street, and there were people at the back who were throwing stones at us. And I looked back because I was a child, you know, I was a bit afraid. But my father said, don't look back, just walk on, you know. And we just walked on, no response, nothing. And so what I feel is that these things eventually, you know, people don't find them fruitful. They get frustrated because what they really want is the other party to get incited, you know, and come back so that they can have a big issue, you know. Look at the state to which Pakistan has come, you know. I mean, Muslims killing Muslims for no reason. And we Ahmadis have lost over 300 people, just targeted because we are Ahmadis, you see. And thousands of others have been put in jail just because they were reciting kalima, they were saying Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Somebody on the street was greeting each other, Assalamu Alaikum. Somebody heard, he went to the police station, he said, oh, he's an Ahmadi, and he was saying Assalamu Alaikum. Okay, issue a charge sheet, take him to court, put him in prison for 3 years. Look, I mean, this is the state of affairs that Islam has come to today in some countries. I'm saying Assalamu Alaikum, you know, to someone, and I'm put in jail for 3 years. And these are not, you know, just stories I'm telling you, because I know a lot about the persecution of Ahmadis in Pakistan and the world as well. You know, this talk about that Ahmadis do not believe in the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, is just, you know, a talk which has no substance or meaning. Or calling Ahmadis as Qadianis. No, Qadianis is not a faith, is not a religion. That is the name of that little village, you know, where Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was born. So, you know, just calling a faith by the name of a town, you know, if Christians or other started calling Muslims Meccans, you know, they do that, you know, what would we feel? How would we feel? See? So, apparently, these are the reasons, you know, for all this opposition. It is not so much, as I feel, not so much on the basis of religious understanding, it is on the basis of the fear of losing power, you know. And this is what actually happened in the beginning as well. Because of the love of power, the fear of losing power, Islam divided, you know, into Shias and Sunnis and all these other sects.
Doctor, have you experienced personal prejudice because of your belief yourself?
I think, you know, you have to behave in a way, you see, that you attract love and kindness and sympathy from others, rather than, you know, acting in a way of confrontation. I do not believe in confrontation. So my approach has been always like this. You see, I would readily accept what the other person says, even if it is bitter and hurtful. You know, if somebody calls me by whatever name he calls me, what difference does it make to me? I know what I am. See, I do not want to retort or respond, you know, in the same tone or in the same manner. I want to show him that I have better values. Our community everywhere is very resilient, you know, very tolerant, very quiet, calm. Here too, you know, the problems our community has, just outside here, you have the Qadiani board, you know, and everywhere you have the Qadiani board, but we don't, you know, bother about these things. because we know what we have to do, and we must continue to do that. And eventually, as God has said in the Holy Quran, guiding people is not our responsibility, it is God's responsibility. He can change the hearts of people, and He will change the hearts of people eventually, we believe.
Okay. Do you feel that the levels of persecution globally have reduced somewhat, or has it increased over the last, say, 10 years?
Well, you see, the nature of persecution has changed. It has now become more sophisticated than it used to be in the earlier years, of Ahmadiyyat. Because now you have electronic communication, you have networking. For example, these organizations like Khatm Nabuwat, like the Hafiz Khatm Nabuwat, like Jemaat Islami, in Pakistan. See, they can communicate all over the world, by the tick of a button. See, so this has sophisticated and universalized the opposition to Ahmadiyyat. You find that with this technology, a lot of violence and crime has come into Islam. That violence and crime is also exposed and spread, throughout with electronic communications and all that, you see. So that way, the persecution has become more widespread. It is not contained in one particular state or country. And then the thing is that wherever there is persecution, whatever is happening, the world comes to know about it immediately. You see, through the internet or through the media or through other forms of communication, people just immediately know. And then obviously people who oppose Ahmadiyyat, who want to see Ahmadiyyat fail, they feel very happy. They say, oh, did you hear in Pakistan? For example, you might have heard that just last week, the mullahs and their party, they raided one Ahmadiyya Qabristan, you see, the cemetery. They raided a cemetery and they smashed all the plaques, with the names of those who were buried. And they also mutilated, those who were buried, and the graves as well. So they just ruined the whole Qabristan. You see, this happened just about last week. And the news has been everywhere, So there are people who feel happy that, okay, we have won this, we have done this. But obviously, people who are intellectual, people who have a good understanding of humanity and faith and religion and human rights, etc., they also know that such acts actually humiliate Islam, rather than doing any good to the name of Islam in the world.